morning and welcome to our live talk program. This is Lord Gabriel here, your host on Revive Reform Radio, doing our live talk program covering wisdom for living on this year, Friday morning, rise and shine and give God the glory. And this morning here, I'm looking at a topic, put in your labor, enjoy life, take your breaks. This is what I'm looking at as I review Ecclesiastes chapter 4. Ecclesiastes chapter 4 with you. So again, welcome, top of the morning to you. Hopefully you had some good sleep last night and you're ready for today. Let us pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, I thank you for the blessings of today, for the blessings of life. I pray that you may be with us, dear Lord, as we review your words, dear Lord, and may we live a balanced life. And may we always seek thee. This is my prayer in Jesus' name. Amen. So here I'm looking at Ecclesiastes chapter 4. The fourth chapter of Ecclesiastes is very interesting because it's the same concept that he's still running with, which is Solomon. He's still in this talk of vanity and vexation of spirit. And Ecclesiastes chapter 4 brings out some of those vanities that he brings forth. And my takeaway thought when I read Ecclesiastes is put in your labor, enjoy life, take your breaks, or put in your time, as they say. You know, you went to work and you put your time in. Somebody said they're enjoying retirement, and I say, how so? And they say, well, you know, I put in my time. I put in how many years of labor, and now I'm collecting some of my retirement pension, and I'm collecting some Social Security, and I can kind of enjoy some, time and some life. And that's basically, to me, what Solomon communicate here. So normally what I do is read all the 16 verses, but this time I'm just going to go into it, and I'm going to go right ahead and break it down piece by piece, so that you just receive it as it is, because it is, to me, this is the one thought I get from it. You probably, if you read Ecclesiastes verse 1 through 16 from begin to end, you'll get multiple thoughts, because there's multiple thoughts, or you could get one thought. Well, there's multiple thoughts, and I've distilled it down to put in your labor, enjoy life, take your breaks, take it easy. And he's going to bring some ideas out that explains all of this, I guess, as it comes to me in my mind. So Ecclesiastes chapter 4 verse 1, he starts out by saying, so I return and consider all the oppression that are done under the sun, and behold the tears of such as were oppressed, and they had no comforter. And on the side of their oppressor there was power, but they had no comforter. So this is a king himself. As you know, Solomon had gotten into a very crazy lifestyle, and he himself became an oppressor to a certain degree because of the wickedness that he was doing in Israel. And the oppression that he did was more so on the basis of taxing the people to sustain this massive lifestyle, this over-the-top lifestyle, he and his 1,000 wives and concubines. So this is the lifestyle that he was living. And so the power was on his side. So I use him as an example because what he put forth here. And so the power is always on the side of the oppressor, because the oppressor is oppressing somebody and benefiting somebody else. That's how oppression work anyhow. And normally in school, we thought we will finish schooling and we were done with bullies. We didn't understand that all adults live under this type of condition. There was something kind of unique to me to discover when I realized adults live under it at a job level, at a community level, and at a national, international level. There's always a bully, there's always somebody that is of the power, and they use that power to beat up and rough up and treat bad those who are weak and those who are whatever. I just thought, you finish with it at school, you'd be like, okay, I'm great to be out of this institution, and I no longer have to deal with these crazy people, whether it be their teachers or their students. And then you realize, wait a second, it is the social construct of human being. They just grow up and get older, and then they take the bullying into the various different institutions and the government. So the power is always on the side of the oppressor. Those are in power, because that's what it is. It's a corrupt person that gets power, and he uses it in a corrupt way. And so he look at it and he says there's a tear of the oppressed. And he doesn't come to a good conclusion, obviously. Because he says, "Wherefore I praise the dead which are already dead, more than the living which are yet alive. Yea, better is he than both they which had not yet been, who had not seen the evil work that is done under the sun." Well, this is a thought. There's, I think, Jonah, I think it is, or Job, talks about this concept that it's almost feel like when you're going through severe suffering, that it's better than not to be ever be born. But what is that? Because if you weren't born, there would be no thought. So it's the thought is mute in itself. We experience life from consciousness because we are conscious, and so within our consciousness, we observe and we say, "Man, look how the poor is suffering." And you observe that, you say, "Man, what's the point?" Which is what he's saying here. What's the point of life if all I live, my life is just to suffer? And this is true even when we talk about health. Whichever way a person is suffering, you say, well, life is good when you can enjoy it. But what's the point of life where I live? To live for a few amount of years and just experience abuse and all kind of stuff like that, and I die from a disease or from somebody beating me or torturing me. And I think this is what he's talking about here. It's the life of the extremes. And you look at that and he says, what's the point? This is also vanity and vexation of spirit. Imagine a child abandoned by the parent because the parent were free sex people. And then a child is put into the ward of the state. Then they get abused. And probably one of the abusers had the AIDS. And the child get the AIDS. And then probably by the time the child is 20-something, they drop dead of AIDS. And he looks at that and he say, what's the point? What was the point of that life? Better not to have been born. So when you read the Bible is not as pro-life often as people claim to be religious. Or, you read all the time, some of the Bible authors seem to regret the whole experience of and the suffering of life. And so this is part of the weirdness of life, or, the contradiction that seem to be anomalies, but you understand. It's just a life of suffering. Somebody say, oh yeah, no, life is always to be celebrated. And I said, really? And you and the Bible authors agree with that? Because they seem to think often like, what's the point? Person born with a severe disability or sickness that they're in constant pain, and they have pain until they die of some weirdness. And he looks at that and he say, what was the point of all that? The person was just died to be tortured, born to be tortured, and you find happiness in that? So here, this is one of the great anomalies. But it is important, though, to note that Solomon himself was an oppressor because of his lifestyle choice, not because he was probably a nice guy, as they say, but he became not a nice guy because of his excessive lifestyle. And so Solomon himself ended up dealing with something that happened to a lot of oppressors. He ended up having to start dealing with some rogue elements within his kingdom. One of them was Jeroboam, who headed up the 10 northern tribes. It was a big part of his choice. And so there's things that happen in life where we sometimes at first don't get it. Normally they talk about, like, right now we're in the longest war America ever fought, and it's called the War on Terror. And then there's other things that's going on in the world where you find, like in the past, Dick Cheney and other people, I think Rumsfeld and so forth, but I think it's Dick Cheney, and many of the American leaders had labeled, what's his name, Nelson Mandela, when he was alive and younger, they label him a terrorist. So often, as they say, the oppressor viewed those who are fighting against him as terrorists, or free, but to the people who are oppressed, they're freedom fighters. And so when apartheid was going on, the power was on the side of the minority, but they had the power. And anybody that disagreed with their system of oppression were viewed as terrorists. So it is with the FARC guerrilla and all these things. So Solomon ended up experiencing that although the power was on his side and he was able to tax the people and abuse the people, that he ended up experiencing also what is part of the experience. Like, here you go, here's some candy. And this candy is called Jeroboam. And Jeroboam basically, he went after Jeroboam, I think, and Jeroboam flee to Egypt, and then later on come back, and then the Lord split the kingdom and gave some of it to Jeroboam. Jeroboam represented that aspect of life that we see. So although he said this is vanity, what I think he would have probably realized after writing this, that it's vanity, but part of vanity is that somebody's going to rise up against you. And there's going to be factions, because the tears are observed by somebody, probably somebody, some boy, one of the boys in the favelas or the ghetto, is sitting there looking at you, living all sumptuous and delicious, and living a life of decadence and opulence. And one little boy get up and say, I'm gonna bind together a bunch of stuff, a bunch of other crazies like myself, and we're gonna fight against this evil empire. This is what happened. So although he says that it is vanity, but there's other vexation that came his way. So those who are in the position of oppression, they get vexation also. This is all part of my observation. So this is why it says, put in your labor, enjoy your life, and take your breaks. It's all right, because all of this is just vanity and vexation of spirit. Notice again, he says again. So he is, I don't know if he writes this in one take. I never read anywhere to explain. If you have, you can always send that information to me. I'm curious if he's writing this in one take, or is he saying, I go away and I muse this thought, and I write it down. I'm like, wow. Or is he, because it seems more like this, because notice it starts on verse 1. It says, so I returned. It's like he keep coming back. So probably he goes off and he do his thing and he enjoys concubines, enjoys some music and some whatever, and he'd be like, let me think about this thought again, and he writes it down. I don't know what's going on. Because life has to be happening while all this is being written. So verse 3 says, verse 4 says, again, I consider all travail and every right work, that for this a man is envied of his neighbor. This also is vanity and vexation of spirit. So different translation renders this similar but different, slightly different. What it says basically, a lot of time people will work and put in out the labor because they observe what a neighbor has. This verse here seems to intimate of what we call here in America you're following the Joneses, or you're trying to be like the Joneses. So you say, what is the pattern of life? Later on, I'm going to tell you, he puts forward a good idea as how to live, which goes with my topic. What's the pattern of life? What do you do? Well, there's a certain, if you live in a certain neighborhood, there's a certain expectation. You drive a certain car. You keep your property a certain way. You have a certain size house, blah, 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 blah. And that in itself can be vanity and vexation of spirit, because you're following what everybody else is doing, which is logical to a certain degree. And then to another degree can be logical, because you could be following everybody to torture yourself. You could be following everybody else to have a tough life and to can't take a break. I've dealt with people who are making phenomenal money, and they hardly go on vacation and stuff like that because they're trying to make more phenomenal money. And they're doing, 60, 70, 80 hours a week. And they're doing phenomenal. But there's no joy in their life. So in verse 4 it says, I consider the travail and every right work. A person not robbing anybody. They're just doing hard labor. That is for this man, he is envied of his neighbor. So he's making the money, people envy him. And people are going to try to follow him. This also is vanity and vexation of spirit. So one has to be careful with that. Notice here in verse 5, very important principle again. It says, the fool foldeth his hand together and heateth his own flesh. This is rendered various different ways, different places. The fool foldeth his hand and basically self-destroy. He hurts himself by being lazy. He folds his hand. He's like, he ain't going to do no work. So here it put together the concept that a person is lazy is also a foolish person. And the person is self-destructive. The destruction doesn't come, or the failure doesn't come from others. The failure comes from their own inactivity. And you can see this much in life, and you can even experience this personally. Your own failure is your lack of activity. And this you could call is vanity and vexation of spirit, because person is vexed while a remote control for the television or for the cable is in their hand, and they're vexed over their, say, financial situation. This also is vanity and vexation of spirit, because the solution lie in they getting energy and getting active and start doing something to dig themselves out of the position. If you want to live a life of like a beach bum, then that's okay. Just accept this is the lifestyle and this is the results that come with the lifestyle. But if you don't want to live that lifestyle and you don't want to put in the work, what's the point? This also is vanity and vexation of spirit. So put in your labor, enjoy your life, or enjoy life and take your breaks. But if all you do is taking breaks and trying to enjoy life, that's also vanity and vexation of spirit. We have one life to live. You can't overdo it nor underdo it. So the principles keep going back and forth. He folded his hand together and eateth his own flesh, because surely he ain't going to eat no meat. There's no food coming his way because he's not laboring. And you got to put in some time. You got to fight some battles. You work and you eat. And if you say, I want a house and I want an extra bedroom in the house, so the house have 2 bedrooms, you say I want a 3rd bedroom. Well, there's a simple way to get it. Just work. It's the simple principle that the Lord has to bless us. And you put in your work, you get a bedroom, and you're like, okay, I'm good. You stop work. Now, there's a certain point where the Bible talks about what we're going to talk about next, but that you could overdo it, but you could underdo it. So we don't want to underdo it, and we don't want to overdo it. Strike that good balance. Because that's part of wisdom. Remember, wisdom is knowledge, understanding, and using those 2 things to make choices. And you can make a choice and live a better life and a wiser life than a person who is a multi-billionaire or a multi-millionaire. And somebody who said they make all the wise choices, but not really enjoying life. So you want to be able to do both. You want to enjoy life. So notice here, it gets to this point. In verse 6 now, tap down and brings the point clearer. Better is a handful with quietness than both hands full with travail and vexation. So that's that principle there. And that principle here is a principle to go with life. It's better. Travail is like hard work, right? So some other translation use the word hard work. So you could have one hand full and you're good. And you just have to put in your 40 hours. But you could have 2 hands full and you have to put in 80 hours. So you still only have 24 hours in a day and 7 days a week. So if I ask you, one hand full, you're good. You bills taken care of. You can enjoy a little vacation. You can have your chariot with how many horses in front of it. You can have your house and you can take care of your family. You're good. But you only have one handful of stuff. All what I just said. Or you could have 2 handful of stuff. But it comes with travail and vexation of spirit. Which is better? This is wisdom. Because remember, the vexation of spirit here is what the problem is. So now, instead of you having 1 car, you probably have 4 cars. Or if instead of having 2 cars for your family, you have 4 cars for your family. So you have in 1 house, you have 2 houses. Instead of you having, I don't know, they said normally 2 kids, you have 4 kids. And everything you just double. So you have your 2 hands are full. And he says if the 2 hands are full, and it's full, but it's both hands full with travail. Now, if you have both hands full, then you don't have no but travail. You have it good like that. God bless you. But if you have both hands full, and it's just a lot of labor, and vexation of spirit, then he's scratching it. He say, "What's the point?" And that's the issue with life: is how to come to that place where you can hit that balance. You can get to that point where you can be like, okay, unless you're studying things like this and you're in your teens, you could go through your whole life and never understand this, never ever thought about it. But the moment you could start thinking about this, you could start saying, oh, so I get what my life is have to do. If I could work in my energy time when I want to, develop my skills, use my energy, be creative before I hit a certain age, and I can do it, and I've one out full, and I can avoid the hard work. So I just have to do my 40 and go home. I can avoid the hard work and the vexation of spirit with one and full. I bet I'll take the one and full. But there's a person who will say, oh no, I'll add more labor, more headache, but I have more stuff. I saw this headline and I didn't get to read it, but this person says she figured out, I think, how to stay out of debt, or to save money or something. And she said all she would just imagine that she has no money, and then she would spend no money so she could save money. But if you have the money, you tend to spend it. So if you decide, I just want one handful of stuff, then I have to just work for one hand. And then I could avoid the travail, which is the hard labor and the vexation of spirit. And then you just satisfy with that. But if you have no self-control and you just like to get stuff, then you could just keep getting more stuff and having more labor. Because the more stuff is more labor. If it takes you a certain amount of work and labor to buy the average house in America, I think it's $215,000. Can't remember, but I think that's what it is. As of probably last year. So say the average house is $215,000, and it's going to take you 20 years of hard labor to get it. But literally at your pay scale and grade, to get a house of $430,000 is going to take you 40 years. Now you have two hands full. And I go to you and say, wisdom is, it's better to have one hand full without the travail and the vexation, and to have, and you have quietness. You have two hands full, but you just have to go hard. Which one you take? Because the 200 something thousand house is still a nice house. But you could have something much nicer, much better appointed, everything is nicer. Where should you go for? And that's basically what Solomon is saying here. Now, if you could get the $400,000 house, but you have a higher pay scale, and you just have one and full, because the amount of work you have to put in to get that one and full is similar to a person working for half the value house to get that one and full, then go for it. But if you have to can't sleep at night, getting sick, having all kind of frustration because you have to be figuring out 20 things to do, make money and stuff like that, it's probably best to have one handful. And that's just simply what it is. But you could go out there and go buy certain things, do certain things, and get yourself in a lot of financial trouble. And you have two hands full, and you have a lot of headache and vexation and hard work on your hands. And that's all because of your choice. So you make those choices and you say, this is what I need. There's some people who in retirement, they need to make more money than they were making when they're working, because they need to have two hands full when they retire. Some people downgrade in retirement and they just need one handful, and they could make even half the amount of money if they set themselves up right, and they can retire. And somebody's there 70, they're still going at it hard in the paint. 70 something, they're going to wait until sickness knock them out of the workforce. Why? Because they have two hands full. Vexation of spirit and travail of soul. At that point, I'm telling you, man, I just go ahead and get a go-kart, and that's much more. I get a scooter. That's my mode of transportation, and I retire earlier. But other people no, they can't do that, so they're going to keep going hard. And many people, as you know, they drop dead either right after retirement or they drop dead on the work because they still have to be putting in, 60 hours a week because, man, they have two hands full. And they could just have one hand full and they'll be all right. It's okay. But that's what it is. It's that avoiding that vexation. So a lot of what Solomon talks about vexation of spirit is just totally logical, straightforward vexation of spirit. You just vex. You're just going hard. As I say, I wish it for none of you here that you would reach 65 and be besides disaster, calamity. There's things happen to you in life that you can't avoid. But if none of these things happen to you and you're at 65 and you lived your life with your two hands full of stuff, I know you're 65, all that stuff is junk. And now you still have to be going hard. I tell you, you have some type of problem, psychological problem or sin problem. If there's no disaster, because it's just like, let the stuff go. And I've met many people over the years, they become older. I've known people they can't even eat properly. It's so sad to watch. They can't eat properly. They can't cool themselves in the summer. They can't warm themselves in the winter. And they have a house paid for, and they just can't let the stuff go. They have money in the bank, and they can't enjoy some life. And they live life very uncomfortable, and they don't have the money. Now, I understand if a person don't have the money. They do have the money, I would say. But I understand if a person don't have the money, and they live life uncomfortable. It's like, okay, I understand you're broke. You have to depend upon charity and stuff like that. But if you have the money, use the money for your comfort. It's what's the point of life with travail and vexation of spirit unnecessarily? There's one thing if you have these things and it's necessary because it's just the situation you find yourself. But if it's unnecessary, why? You only have one life to live, and whether or not you save in the kingdom of God or heaven, it doesn't matter why you're here. Drink some freshly squeezed orange juice. You don't if you don't have to buy it from the box. Why? Just drink some freshly squeezed orange juice. You're gonna drop dead anyhow. So might as well just drop dead with a body filled with fresh squeezed orange juice. And just enjoy some life. Even if you don't want to buy a brand new car, but buy something fairly new. Do less trips to the auto mechanic shop, and when you go to the doctor, at least go to the doctor driving in comfort. If you have the money. Now I know if you don't have the money, well, you do what you have to do. But there's a lot of people who suffer through life just totally unnecessarily while they have means, because I guess they're planning to drop dead and leave it for somebody. Why? You work for it, use it. It's yours. It's just for your comfort. It's not for, per se, luxury or pleasure. It's just for your comfort. And there's other people who just do not save for a rainy day. So in verse, I'll read it again because it's so powerful. But better is a handful with quietness than both the hands full with travail and vexation of spirit. So that's a definite statement there of comparing one to another. So now in verse 7, he returns again. Then I returned and I saw vanity under the sun. So he's looking at more vanity now. Because what he's doing is live such a vain life that he's become an expert at observing vanity and vexation of spirit. And he said, there is one alone, and there is not a second. Yea, he hath neither child nor brother, yet he is there no end of all his labor. Neither is his eyes satisfied with riches. Neither said he, for whom do I labor and bereave my soul of good? This is also vanity, yea, it is a sore travail. Wow, this is a big one. And big ones because it's almost come close to home for me. Not fully, but it comes near at house. Because this is something that I've thought about much. Over the years, I remember when I was younger, and I read Ecclesiastes on one Sabbath when I was younger. Just read through the whole thing, and I found it fascinating. It's a fascinating thought that he put here. Because he puts a thought here that is, you've seen this. The person has no kids. They have no brother or sister. And they have nobody. He's talking about a male here. Most of the Bible is written to men, to the most part. But you can take male or female. Because female is just a male version. Not a male version. So he has here this person view. So I don't know if he went about his life, as I say, enjoying his kingdom and his his food and everything like that, and he's observed somebody, and he's like, because to me, this is like reading, not Peter, Paul's writing. He's dealing with day to day stuff, but his view here in Ecclesiastes is constantly this idea of travail and vanity, because he himself lived a sumptuous lifestyle. So he didn't deal with no hard work. His hard work was dealing with the crazy people around him and his crazy head. So he see this person, and the person says this person labors hard and bereave his soul of good. Now you've known this. I remember quite a few times now this happened where, in recent memory, probably last 5 years or so, where somebody was phenomenally wealthy and living a life of almost a pauper. And when they died, they found that the person had gold or money in the bank or stuff like that in the millions. And it is and they have nobody's going to be turned over to the government, and somebody's having fork and knife and licking their chops. So this is vanity and vexation spirit. Why would a person have all that and keep working hard and don't enjoy the creature comforts and live a simple life and then just drop dead? It is amazing. Why would somebody do that? It don't make no sense, right? There ain't nobody to leave it to. He's not working for. What is he building up all that treasure for? And what makes it worse is that the person bereave his soul of good. It is weird. And you see this, and I've dealt with this, and I'm dealing with this with different people. They, as I say, they don't keep warm in the winter. They don't keep cool in the summer. They deal with all kind of frustration. They don't eat healthy. They don't do nothing for their own good. But they have money in the bank. They have a house paid for. They have this and that. And you're like, why would you punish yourself like that? There's something, sickness in the mind. Sin is a mess up thing to do to human beings. It doesn't make sense. This is why I say, put in your labor, just your labor, enjoy life, and take your breaks. But there's people who, they ain't gonna do that. They gonna be like, I have money in the bank, I have property. I'm like, man, you be living miserable. What's the point? I can show you a poor person living as a bum that's doing better than you. You're there, you're living so uncomfortable. And you have what? How much money you have in the bank? Oh, you're crazy. Again, I'll read it. There is one alone, and there is none, not a second. Yea, he had neither child nor brother. So no siblings and no children. Yet, he says, there is no end of all his labor. See this person buzzing around like a bumblebee. You're thinking, man, he must be paying for his grandkids' schooling. Somebody said grandkids? Yeah, no grandkids. Oh, okay. So what's all that labor for? He already retired. I said, oh, this person have a lot of money in the bank. Okay, so they're saving for what? Oh, they're saving for nothing. That person's already 70 something. They're not going to a nursing home. They look like they could live to 100 and still be on their own. So what is the person saving for? They're already in the rainy day. And you look at the person, notice it says, neither is his eyes satisfied with riches. So the person that keep making more money. Neither says he, for whom do I labor and bereave my soul of good? This also is vanity and vexation of spirit. So he doesn't stop and say, wait. When I drop them, what's going to happen to the money tomorrow? But yet they bereave their soul of good. But man, you go there, you be like, look, I ain't nobody to leave this stuff to. The government going to take it anyhow. You know what happened? It's time for me to go get one of those lazy boys. You know the lazy boys chair? That's what they call them. Yeah, I wouldn't buy one even if I had the money. I don't know what you do with that stuff. I would quicker go buy like an exercise equipment, then I'll buy one of those. But it's just, that's what I'm saying. If you're in the couch, man, just say, what is the? That's a chair that came to my mind. Not promoting it because I don't have one or anything. I don't really know much about it, but I always thought that says if you're gonna buy a chair to comfortable, I guess that's what you go for. A nice plush chair that wraps around you, and you sit in there, and you be like, man, because I'm gonna die left this stuff anyhow, so I just sit in this one for now. You can get yourself a comfortable car, a comfortable house. Make sure if it's summer, it feels like it's no summer. It's like you're in the Garden of Eden. You say, go out there and say, who making good AC system? Panasonic, Mitsubishi. Who is it? I'll get me that one. You go get you one. I can't remember the American version, but anyway, you get me one of those things, and you cool yourself down. That's the way to do it. In the summer, in the winter, you warm yourself up. The lawn need to be cut. Go get me somebody from south of the border. Let them cut my lawn. I can get me American. I can pay full price. And you live comfort with what you have, and you enjoy you have. Give me the nicest food. Tell me what's the latest trend in food. Oh, they're doing vegan now. Get me some vegan food. And juice for me. Get me some juice and stuff like that. Hire myself some maid to come and work for me. But the person is working, saving more money, living stingy, can't eat food. You look at them, they look shrivel up and look like they're about to keel over. And you talk to them and you're like, that's the type of diet you eat with the money you have in the bank. Man, I'll pay somebody to come juice for me and stuff like that. Because I'm going to drop dead left it. So that's why I say, put in your labor, enjoy your life, take your break. And I know people like this right now as I speak. Oh, it is amazing how they abuse themselves and live lives so stingy. I was said to a person one day, I was with a person, I took somebody shopping, older person, and I'm saying to them that says, if you cut calorie anymore, you're going to hurt yourself. There's a certain point where you can't pinch that penny anymore. You can't stretch that dollar anymore. You're going to physically hurt yourself. Your diet is too anemic. So these are practical things I'm talking about. And this happens, it seems like a lot when it comes on to people who are older. Because this is a person who's older. It's a person, as Solomon says it, they have at that point where they're at the age where they could have children and they have no family. So that could mean that their siblings die. They could even had kids and the kids dead. These things happen. Life is sad sometimes. Have the kids and the kids die in either young, childbirth, or they die when they're old. I know he's an older person. He has nobody to leave his stuff to. And he says he bereaved his soul of good. And they're enjoying life. I'd be like, man, go get a roommate. Say to somebody, I'm renting the room. And yeah, I'll rent. How much you want to pay? Okay, pay me $300 a month. You can have the room. You don't need the money. It's just a ploy to get somebody in the house. So you're not by yourself. But some people are selfish. I don't understand. It's not about the money. Just go rent the room to somebody so somebody can live in there. Just get somebody that's going to drink and smoke and fornicate in your house, and you're all right. So this is how many people are living. And this is what he says. When you look at this is basically some of the takeaway I get from Ecclesiastes 4. Is that it's not necessary to live life like that. You see, Solomon could have probably done 5 wives and he'd be totally happy. I don't know if he could have done 1. We should have. But with 1,000, that was just vexation of spirit. It was just too out of control. And the flip of that is that a person could just live a life where they're all by themselves and they're miserable. And if they just be a little bit nice, a little bit more kind, they'll be much more happier. Just think about the amount of old people that we have in the country that is lonely, that we have a lonely epidemic. Because I can't remember, but I think the number is 4-something million. No, it's probably much. I was looking at something. I can't remember the exact number they put up, but it was some very millions of people. And there's some poor people who could get a job and they could work for them and help them, connect with them probably 2 hours, 3 hours a day and just take away that loneliness. Stuff like that. But people become old and selfish. I say this real quickly before I move on to the next thought, that David also, in one of his psalms, talk about this extensively, or in a serious way, I should say, because this is one psalm, and he talks about this because this is a problem that all of us will face. As you get older, your friends die off, your family die off, and anybody that's still alive start to become in their sphere of contact, or the people around them become less and less, and they run into a problem of becoming lonely. But also David saw which most people have not observed it, but I think this is synonymous with what's going on right now in our nation, is that when people get older, David, and you can read about this in Ellen G. White's writing, where she talks about that people become more selfish and more suspicious of others. You get that? They become suspicious, and then so they become more isolated, because there's people you need to be suspicious of. The people think people are coming to take what they have. Isn't that fascinating? And this is the type of talk that you hear from the current generation, because they're suspicious and they become lonesome, and they think people are coming to take what they have, and blah, blah, and they become isolated. This also is vanity and vexation of spirit. Verse 9 says, two are better than one, because they have a good reward for their labor. So two is better than one. So when you're with somebody else, you're just better for companionship, for, as you're going to say later, when trouble comes, you have two people to help you. I think this is the solution for verse 1. See, verse 1 solution is often the poor people are, it's easier for them to not work together because they'll act like crabs in a bucket. You know, it's just, that's just how it is. So it's easier to divide and conquer poor people. But two is better than one. When you have somebody else working, doing something, you could be doing one thing, the person is doing another thing. You're doing one thing. I told you complement each other. You have somebody had to bounce stuff off. You have companionship. You have somebody to fight with you. You have somebody that somebody's know. You know why a bully knows to bully people? Because he knows nobody's going to defend them. But if you are these two people are friends, the bully know, I'm going to have to beat these two person up. Because if this person here, if I attack this person, this other person going to jump in, and I have to fight two people off. So the bully has to be able to take two on. But what it is that if one of the person be willing, this is how I think World War starts, because somebody else is willing to jump in. So this is how they figure it out. So this is how you have to figure out, like with a situation with when you have somebody that's on your side, or you're on somebody's side. You got to make sure the bully know that, look, you're going to attack that person, but I'm going to get you. This was one of the benefits also of growing up with siblings. So I myself have 4 siblings, right? But I was the youngest. So the benefit of having older siblings that were also willing to fight for you is that when you're young, some people will pick on you. So this is part of my personality also. I realized when I look back, I'm like, oh, that's why I never really I wasn't fazed by bullies growing up through primary school all the way to high school. And then it happened when I got into adult world. I realized people thought of me a certain way, but I kind of think, why? Because I'm not in that mindset per se, like to fight or stuff like that. But I realized you could give off a aura. That's the right word, aura. Why? Because when I was younger, my brother or my sister would fight for me. I'll whip people. When I say whip people, I mean badly. So the good part of that is that, I don't have to be afraid, because you have somebody that will whip a bully. So a bully will pick on me, not knowing, whack, that somebody was coming and going to whack them. And they're going to give them a good whacking. That was good to go through in life. But I can see when you're by yourself, and somebody know, if I pick him off, I'm done. But if you try to hit me, somebody's going to thump in the back of your head. It's a good thing. And that's, to me, is the answer for verse 1. You see, verse 1 is the oppressor know that power is on his side. And he knows that when he's beating up the oppressed, nobody's going to come and knife him in the back. So it's fine. You don't have to look behind him. And that's the problem. Notice, this is how they do wars. They would surround the country, isolate the country, bam, take the country out. I think this is the reason why it's easier that when they took out all these Middle Eastern countries. Because what it is that if one of these other Middle Eastern countries would come up in the rear and attack, they would have a problem. They would know that we have to attack about 3-4 countries, to take out this one. But we can isolate this one and whack him. And whack him will whap. And the other mole's not going to come and whack you back. But I think this is where North Korea is a problem, because North Korea now has China, and then South Korea like, well, they promised that if you take them out, they're gonna take out Seoul, so we better negotiate. So you have that problem, and they have Russia also, so it's more difficult there. And I think ultimately they get around it or negotiate their way around, but you have to do negotiation because they have backup. See, this is when you have backup, it becomes different. But if they didn't have no backup, that thing would have probably been settled with a war. But they know Russia and China would stop that. So that's how you know how these things work. So on a personal level, it's a good thing when you have somebody else with you, because a person know that they could bother this person, but it could become a problem. And that's where it's not. I don't believe in. I believe a lot of friends that we have, they're acquaintances. It's you need to have people around you that willing to take a bullet, so to speak, for you. And then people will know, oh, okay, this could be a problem. So they'll know that there's a layer to you. So this is where it is. So when you look at this again, verse 10 says, for if they fall, the one will lift up his fellow. But woe unto him that is alone when he falleth, for he had not another to help him. So you have no backup. If you're by yourself, you're just by yourself. Like that old guy in verse 8. He's laboring and he's going to drop dead. It's just vanity and vexation of spirit. But when you're laboring and there's somebody who's going to benefit, somebody's going to receive it, somebody's going to get it, your labor is tend to be less vanity and vexation of spirit. And it tend to be easier because somebody can back you up when you run into a problem. We all run into a problem sooner or later, or we all run into a problem as a person, run into a person that's a problem. And it's good to know that somebody's going to defend you, but they'll isolate you because they know you're on your own. And this is how the system works. This is how human we work. This has nothing to do with any system. You go any country, and if they figure out that, this is why I wouldn't go to certain places, because I've done it and I realize it's problematic. In my mind, especially because I was in that mindset, I would just go somewhere and want to move somewhere. I didn't really care if I like the place, I just want to move there. But then I realized, you're by yourself. Oh, so we can abuse you. So there's the same thing. If somebody say, pick a country, I go to, say, Peru. Why would I go there? I know I have nobody there. If I go there, I need to know, so I have somebody there that's going to be willing to die for me, so to speak, or die with me. Then I say, okay, I'll go. You speak the language, yeah. Okay, you my friend. You're gonna be there for me no matter what, even if they turn on me. Yeah, okay, I'll go just about anywhere. When I was young, I didn't really understand this, so I just go wherever my mind lead me. Not understanding that it's important to know. Say you have some people in that community, right? Nope. So don't go. Find some people first, and if you go, make sure you're willing to create a ruckus, and you're willing to defend yourself, because people will abuse you. People will threaten you. A threat could mean that you must die, and that's to me the attitude you go with. Somebody threaten you, bam, okay, and we're done, and that's it. Then don't go then. So here it goes. It says here, he falleth, another one will help him, right? So when he falls, somebody else will help him. Notice here again, if two lie together, then they have heat. But how can one be warm alone? So this is reality, especially in the winter. And in the summer, it can be too much of a reality. If two people lie down, they have heat. But if one lie by themselves, they have no heat. Someone say, but they could get an electric blanket. What it is that they have more heat, because one heat is generated and the other heat is generated. To them together, they make heat. And so it is with life. It's good to have somebody in your corner, people that you're connected with, no matter what your situation is. If you're single, say somebody is going to call you sooner or later. Somebody's concerned for your well-being. Somebody's looking out for you. Somebody's trying to take care of you. And this, as I say, becomes even worse or more important or more serious when a person gets older. Because I said to you, there's a lot of people who are much older now because of the baby boomer generation and generation before them who are living longer, and they're becoming lonely and they don't have no heat. They don't have nobody to lay with them. And I'm not talking about this just physically. I'm talking about this socially, mentally, so forth. They have nobody to hang with, to knock head with. They're by themselves. They're more vulnerable. There's nobody to call and say, hey, look, I want to run this thing by you. I want to ask you this thing. Hey, this thing is not working. Can you explain this to me? I don't know if it's just I'm having a senior moment or this is just difficult. And then somebody will be like, yeah, that's heat. You're drawing heat. Enjoy I talk about as we get towards the end of time that we have to gather warmth from the coldness of others. And think about we live in a very cold time where people are becoming cold for moral reasons. They're becoming cold for fear because people, so much scammers. How many calls you get a day? Every day there's a certain amount of calls that come into my phones from scammers. It's people scamming like crazy. And you know who the biggest target is? Is Aunt Tilly, is the old people. And they're going after the old people because they're starting to becoming, they're senile, they're easily confused. There are many older people, they're very naive, and they don't understand that people are just vicious and scammy. And sometimes they're fearful, so they lock the door to everyone. But when you have some friends around you that, look out for you, then, you can get some warmth, even though we live in a very cold time where people are cold. Bible says, men will become no, it's not desperate, wicked, but all the love of people will wax cold. By the 24, probably somewhere around 17 or so, people, the heart will wax cold. And we in this time, if that's a very powerful sign of the end of time, people are so cold that people are literally dying for lack of love. They say it can be as severe as having a heart problem or diabetes. Just people are so cold and people are so alone. Verse 12 says, and if one prevail against him, two shall withstand him, and a threefold cord is not quickly broken. So when you have somebody is willing to back you, then it becomes a problem. And it becomes a problem for just about any group. I'm just telling you, if normally this is all you see when they took out some of these young black men with these false accusations. There was nobody else to go up for them. Everybody just mind their own business. The community didn't come out. At least now, I think things have changed a little bit. They shoot a young black man. At least there's some protests. And although most people in the community don't like that, they protest. But I think it's a very good thing. I think when they protest, at least somebody gonna be like, okay, we about to lose a right hand. They're gonna burn a right hand, or at the or Walgreen at the corner of Happy and Healthy, and the blackies or the Negroes or the niggers, they're gonna burn a Walgreen or a white right hand or something. So we need to probably stop shooting them. At least there's a response. People say, well, they shouldn't be burning their own community down. I agree, or the businesses in the community. But at least there's a response, because what it is oppressors don't really understand anything else. That's the only language they understand. Because they want people to be oppressed and go along quietly. But when somebody go after you, it's good to know that you have somebody else to back you up. Somebody has to be in your corner. And if you have two people in your corner, you're almost starting a revolt. And over the years, I remember that used to be the problem. I remember people who are I first learned this when I was in a church back in the Shore area in New Jersey. And there's this person who was, like a military person. And I remember I had this guy that I used to work with in ministry. And, there's a split in the church, and he was on one side. And me and another guy ended up finding ourselves without choice. I wasn't part of it really, but I was just there quietly watching. So he said to the guy, you pull a following. See, they don't like that because they know, somebody gonna back you. But when they start want to beat you up or persecute you, and they know, they can isolate you, then they're like, yeah, we got you. But when you have a following now, it'd be like, so go ahead, what are you gonna do? And they don't like that, because I was just quietly watching what's going on. Like, yeah. So this is the time, and I started learning that, they don't like that. But when you're younger, you see it, but you don't understand it fully, because you're a child. You don't get it. Okay, so many people leave you alone. Why? Because they know, okay, you have some siblings that will fight. But you don't get, but when you look back and you're like, oh, that's why. So they won't bother you. They'll just see you and they're like, just hi. And that's it. They keep quiet. So better, because the three cord is not easily broken. And that's how the system is. That's why when there's protests, people pull and look back because they say, this person has supporters. But elderly supporters with protests, a lot of time they're foolishness anyhow. Because there's a lot of people, if the rubber meets the road and things get rough, they run. You already know you have there's a few people in your back. So that's why you say you put in your labor, enjoy your life, and take your breaks. Because all this is vanity and vexation of spirit. Whatever people worried about today is garbage anyhow. Better is the poor and a wise child than an old foolish king, who will no more be admonished. For out of prison he cometh to reign. And this is, I think, talking about the child. So you read it in context. For out of prison he cometh to reign, whereas also he that is born in the kingdom becometh poor. I consider all the living which walk on the sun, with a second child that shall stand up in his stead. There is no end of all people, even of all that has been before them. They also that come after shall not rejoice in him. Surely this is vanity and vexation of spirit. So what I understand he's talking about here in the last 4 verses is this simple idea that, say there's an old king and he can't be admonished anymore. He's just dumb as a nut. He's not going to do anything right. A person could be young and he's better than him, because what it is, young person, they could go to prison, they could get a bad prison, all kind of stuff could happen. Next you know, he's ruling the nation and people support him. Then after that, some other person come along and the generation that's newly come on and said, we don't want that guy who came from rags to riches and became the ruler of the nation, and out with him, in with the new. And it's just this constant cycle that we go through. So as you go through this constant cycle, one king comes in, another king goes, another king comes in, another go. Remember, when all of this is going on, put in your labor, enjoy your life, and take your breaks. Because all this is vanity and vexation of spirit. You still have to live your life. You can't get too caught up with all this type of stuff, because it's just part of the cycle of life. Life is crazy. If Lord has blessed you, just enjoy those blessings. Put in your labor, bless who you can bless, do you can do. But you have to sleep at night. You're going to eat, you're going to enjoy life. You just enjoy some life as much as you can, because all this is vanity and vexation of spirit. As you know, there's just these cycles. And some people cheering this new leader. Then the new leader go, then another new leader cheers in, and then people get tired of that one. And all it is, this is how people do stuff. So there's a king, he's old, can't be admonished anymore, nobody can talk to him. He's just going to do what he's going to do. Somebody along is going to come along and they're going to be the new leader. Then people get tired of him too, and then they're going to move on. And there's going to be another young leader. And they're going to cheer that person in, and then they too are going to get tired. Or the generation come along and say, we don't need him to lead anymore. And they will even overthrow him, arrest him. And then they pick a new leader. And this is how human beings are. So while they're doing all that, sometimes you just get your popcorn and watch. You get some drink, and you drink your drinks. And enjoy the show. Because this is just all vanity. You see people, then they're protest. No, no, no. We want change. And then they get the change and they're like, oh, we don't like the change. Let's get a new change. And they get that change. And they're like, oh, no, we can't be satisfied. We crazy. And all you're doing is just eating your popcorn and watching the show. And like, they crazy. You put in your labor. You enjoy some life. Have a backpack pack just in case things get crazy. You have to run out of town. Whether it be for natural disaster or for civil war. But just enjoy your life and take your breaks, because you could die today or you could die 10 years from now. Who knows? Only God knows, unless you have some terminal sickness. And, you know, you could get caught up with all this stuff and get too worked up about it. But it's a certain point where you'll be like, man, where's the orange juice? I'm going to drink some orange juice and enjoy some life. Because that's it. Because it's all vexation of spirit. Don't be hoarding up money in the bank, but don't throw away your money. Live that balanced life. You know, put in your labor, make your money, take care of yourself, take care of those you have around you. Don't suffer unnecessarily because you're trying to save the dash away, throw away the money to whoever. And God will bless you. Let us pray. Our Father who art in heaven, I thank you for the blessings of your word, your wisdom, the guidance. And I pray, Lord, that we might truly be wise, not just hear your word, understand it, but we might make the decisions, dear Lord. May you bless those that are of age, older, and are not, dear Lord, taking care of themselves, that they may choose, dear Lord, to live more comfortable in this life. This is my prayer in Jesus' name. Amen. Thanks for being with me here on Revive Reform Radio. Looking forward to talking to you again live 2 Mondays from now. Until then, I pray that you may come to you walk with the King.